So, I am in a state of self-discovery that is deeply profound, and it is related to faith. What does faith look like? Can I have faith in what I have discovered on my own, independent of religious influence? Can I discover religion along that path, or can religion support what I've discovered along the path? I don't know. Something that I'm taking great care with discovering. But what I've discovered so far has been that the metaphysical planes, that which is not this physical material existence, do exist. I've also bore witness to those who have gotten lost in the experiences of the metaphysical realms and severely damaged as a result. And then there's all the in-between. Lately, something that I've discovered is after the death of my husband, Patrick, I was given the gift of seeing reflective messages and downloads in the physical plane. And they came from all sorts of places, one of which, the primary source of which, was actually through my social media. I had not been a follower of tarot readers or psychics, mainly because I believe that a lot of psychics and people out in the world are playing with fire and they don't understand what it is that they're working with. It's a very dangerous thing to have these abilities and not be 100% clear on where it is coming from. So I take my practice extremely seriously and with as much of a grain of salt as possible. So in that experience, what was interesting was I had received one message from one tarot reader, and I had only had one tarot reader that kept popping up on my feed, and had been for many months, and no other tarot readers were popping up on my feed. So it was really interesting that suddenly one other tarot reader came up and stated, pretty much prophesied that I would suddenly see hundreds and hundreds of tarot readers to help guide me, and that it would blow up. And then sure enough, it did. And I received explicit message after message that was not incorrect. There were some instances where it was, no, that's not quite for me. But it progressed and it became very accurate. So a lot of these psychics, while they're accurate in their relayances, over the past year and a half of just observing them and watching how it actually how it has played into my life, I actually observed that my state of mind actually reflected the messages that I was receiving at a certain point. So when I was in complete faith that I was being divinely guided by God. I was given positive messages. But when I would have doubt in any capacity, I would receive messages of, X's coming in, and then it became messages of, playing with the human will and that need and desire to feel accepted, etc., etc. And so I've just been observing that. It was really fascinating to see just how suddenly that shift in videos that would pop up on my feed, they were in complete sync with my state of mind. And it wasn't out of a perception, interpretation. It was entirely the content that was coming up on my feed was a direct reflection of that. So I observed that for quite a bit. And in that reflection, I have also met someone who is quite religious, and I'm exploring what that means. I'm discovering, I've been called for the past couple of years to read the Bible. Spirit, God, universal consciousness, whatever term you want to use, it is all the same to me. To me, God is the parent consciousness from which all consciousness extends. So, I went, okay, well, I understand the nature of humanity and human history, and I want to be very careful with what Bible I choose to read. And I ultimately landed on the Interlinear Bible. And so I've been slowly reading that as I've been progressing and writing books and releasing books, and now putting on this art show of my late husband's artwork. And it is something that is deeply profound. It's a very profound experience because I've had a few instances of scares in my support network. My support network is not as stable as I once thought it was, and that can shift on a dime. It really, truly can. So, what do I do with that? How do I navigate the sensation of not feeling supported? Will my human brain take over? Can I overcome my human brain? Because my human brain has come with the trauma and the belief systems of my worth and my value. And they're false, but they are belief systems that I bought into with the trauma that I experienced. And now it's something different. I can observe my human brain and recognize when the intrusive thoughts are occurring, and the need to overcomplicate and try to make sense out of what is happening, the overthinking, the the questioning of my own self-worth, trying to flood my brain again, and what does that look like? So today, this morning, I was really struggling with that, my self-worth again, but there's an aspect of what I've experienced in my metaphysical practices as a psychic and discovering those psychic abilities with integrity and with responsibility that places me in an interesting position with myself and my relationship to myself in this regard. So as I'm exploring faith and my belief in God and having direct communication with God, the entity that is the parent consciousness from which all consciousness extends, it can be challenging to discern at times what messages are coming in from where. So I cried out this morning and I asked for guidance and support and put my music on shuffle because that's generally where that comes from. And I noticed that in the messages it was contradictory. So there were messages of support, but then the text, the actual lyrics were not supportive. They were actually quite destructive or violent. And it was several songs that had come up like that. And I realized, okay, this is my state of mind that is manifesting my request for support. So recognizing the diligence with which I must navigate this physical realm now to the levels that I'm practicing is very significant. The stakes are higher. The more that I explore these gifts, the stakes are higher, which means that when my human brain chooses or seeks to lay claim or wants to run the show, if you would, it sets me in a state of vulnerability that taps me into the negative metaphysical experience. So many religious groups would say it makes me susceptible to demonic entities, whatever. I don't know if I believe in demonic entities. I believe in darkness. And in my practices, I have experienced that darkness is, once again, just an aspect of God, but this is an aspect of God that is struggling. So we are a reflection of that. And it is our responsibility as being willful creatures to identify and recognize our responsibility to ourselves and our own conscious state. And when we don't have the support to explore that conscious state in a responsible way, we can get very lost. The distortion of the human brain, the logical human brain, can create a sense of delusion that makes us susceptible to violent actions and violent behaviors, both towards ourselves and towards others, whether it's intentional or not. This is a working place, as Patrick would say, and I agree with that sentiment. This is a working place. We are here to free ourselves from the delusion of the human brain, the will of the human brain, the logic of the human brain. We are here to free ourselves of the conditions of being human so that we may move with childlike wonder, with love, and the intelligence of that childlike wonderment, while moving with intention, with responsibility with integrity. So I feel that my work here is important in relaying the necessary steps of moving with integrity as a metaphysical practitioner and what that looks like. So this is an example of that in my discovery process to show an example of what that is. And hopefully it helps somebody, but it's also kind of a personal journal to collect my thoughts. So I realized that working at this level now, the instantaneous state of mind creates the immediate reflection in the physical realm at this stage for me. That it is that much more important to maintain a positive and healthy mindset and perspective. How much do I share? I'm solo and did not feel as though I was supported and felt the need to call the crisis hotline. And so I did. I was just observing the self-harm, violent, impulsive, the go-to that my brain has been trained to resort to when I feel unsupported in the physical. So I was just observing it and recognizing that maybe I should, try to seek some sort of external processing support. And I noticed in that conversation, the lovely lady on the other side was kind of pushing for me to get off the phone, which was, it's neither here nor there, but I went, okay, I'm being told to stop this seeking of external validation and actually examine what it is that I'm witnessing within myself. What is this? So I got off the phone with her, and that's when I experienced the phone or the music reflection, and I went, okay, I see what this is. I see what this is. And it's not going to win, because it's not, it never has, so why would it win now? But to allow oneself to feel through it is important, and to observe it is even more important, to recognize where it's coming from. So being where I am presently in my faith and exploring that, I went, okay, I'm feeling physically lost in my body. How do I navigate this? And I chose to go to the Bible, and this beautiful person in my life had suggested I start with John rather than the Gospel of John, rather than the Genesis, which I've been enjoying reading. But so I went to John, and I started reading that, and I went from Genesis, which is in Hebrew, to John, which is in Greek. So it's a totally different language that I'm working with now. So I was reading backwards, and now I'm reading forwards again. And so in this Gospel of John, what's really fascinating was I was experiencing the fascination with prophets that are depicted in the Bible, and the way that John was depicting his knowing was coming from within himself, that self-owning self-owning of enlightenment and knowledge and wisdom that's coming from the light from within oneself. So his discovery of truth came from within himself. And that's the journey that I've been on. It has not come from religious sects. It has not come from anything else. It has come from within. And then that reflection of also him not being received, but those who have received him were considered children of God, so the light of God, the goodness of God, and the importance of that. I also discovered that the prophet, the word prophet in Greek means poet. If someone who foresees things and is also a poet. I thought that was really fascinating. Someone who channels the word, the art of the word, what that looks like. And he was very clear in moving with integrity in the way that he approached the Jews that were sent to ask him who he was. He was actually very standoffish, and rightly so, because he worked quite hard on his enlightenment. And I know what that's like. So to come about it but also he was standoffish, but also very humble at the same time, in that I'm merely a voice crying into the wilderness. And essentially begging others to see the light within themselves. And the love that exists within that human being. So it was really powerful for me to read that right now, considering where I'm at. And so it leaves me questioning quite a lot when it comes to faith, when it comes to certain beliefs that I've had, that I've held about whether or not we each individually have the strength to overcome our own minds or not. I don't know. I can't speak for other people. I can only speak for myself and what I've experienced. But what this has done for me is reinforced the importance of communicating, moving with integrity as a metaphysical practitioner, as that's what I call it. I don't know what else to call it, because I feel as though the titles that exist, the words that exist presently in this realm, are not an accurate representation of what I experience, because they are associated with certain connotations and belief structures and systems that simply don't align with me. I've never felt the truth of them, so call me a psychic. I don't know. I have metaphysical abilities. Some would call it a psychic. Others would call me a witch. I don't know. If in religious circles, that would be a prophetess or whatever, but I don't know what this is. I can't speak to what this is, what I have experienced in my life. I have no idea what this is. But what I do know is that I have moved with grace and with love and intention and goodness and light as more consistently than anything from the darkness. And that feels correct. There's a certainty and direction and intelligence, divine intelligence, in that moving in the light and with the light. And recognizing and being aware of the darkness. So I see the truth of why I experienced the trauma that I had when I was growing up. It was so that I could see the truth of the darkness and actually look into it from a place that recognizes it just recognizes what is not the light so that I can identify what is the light. And that discernment process has been a grueling process that has nearly destroyed me at every turn. And I have refused to allow it to destroy me. So, no, this is not going to win. Positivity, love, light, God, the universe, that's going to win. So, when I was lost, I went to the Bible, which is unprecedented for me. It's not something that I've done. So, what am I basing my understanding of faith and belief in this being that I have connected with right before my husband passed? How am I connecting? How am I connecting the dots? Can I bridge the gap between secular mindsets of the metaphysical and religious mindsets of the metaphysical? Is that possible? Because for many in religious sects, they believe in prophets, but that's someone who functions on a metaphysical level. So at the same time, denouncing other people who have these metaphysical abilities as being demonic in some way, that seems counterintuitive, and it doesn't make sense to my brain of how we can demonize those who have those abilities while also the context is really just mind-boggling to me. So I'm just taking it in at the moment and exploring what religion is or what the Bible is, but I am seeing overlap in things that I've discovered on my own independently as I've explored my metaphysical abilities with integrity and love and goodness and deep truth examination and discernment, responsibility, integrity, all that. So I'm interested in seeing what else I discover is overlapping in the Bible. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing here. I think all of us are just children of the earth, trying to make sense out of what it is that we have. I don't seek to demonize anyone. I have great compassion for people, but I also recognize there's a great responsibility that we have as people who have metaphysical abilities to move with integrity, to move with responsibility, to practice in a way that frees us from the human mind to navigate with integrity and to help others. So, take that what you will. Thank you so much for being here. I love you very much. Welcome to the Thriver. I may not post as consistently as other channels, but I will be posting. I will continue to post as I feel called. And I felt called to share this. So, I love you. Thank you for being here. Thanks for watching. Bye.